We can't all control everything in our lives, but we can certainly control what we put in our bodies. There is no need to dig your own graves by your own fork and knife in the name of enjoying unhealthy, highly processed foods. And this brings us to today's topic, the dangers of highly processed food. Hey guys, I am Dr. Dolly in Victoria Island, Lagos, and this is once again your $1 Body Show. It is proudly sponsored by Salad Master, the makers of the best cookware in the world. And here with me in the studio for this great discussion is none other than the amiable in-house Salad Master dietitian.
My name is Falashade Babatunde, and Dr. Dolly, it's great being with you here today again. Yes.
Okay, now let's go over to our London studio and bring in our ever charming regional coordinator of Excel Region, Salad Master, Mr. Tony Bello himself. Okay. Mr. Tony, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Okay.
All
I
right.
said I've never been called charming before, but thank you very much. Yeah. And everybody's looking forward to this show today. Diabetes is one of the main lifestyle diseases in terms of. I'm sure, Dr. Dolly, you're going to go through that. And people are very concerned because now we have COVID-19. Am I right? Am I right? COVID-19? Yeah.
Yes.
Did I get the number right? I get sometimes confused. We have COVID-19, and there've been some signs whereby they've looked at some of the things that happened over the time, that COVID-19 is really attacking people, mostly with diabetes at the moment. So the people are looking forward to it, Dr. Dolly and Folashade. So thank you very much. So over back to you, Dr. Dolly. What do you have in store for us?
A whole lot today.
Okay.
Now let's slide right in it. Processed foods. What are those? Any food that can be called a convenience food or pre-prepared food already can be called processed food. Anytime we cook, fry, or even freeze foods, we are processing them. But if the processing process does not add artificial ingredients and chemicals to it, it is not unhealthy. There are different types of food processing. And right now, I want to go over to our in-house dietitian. That is actually her field. So she will let us know the types of processes we have.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Dolly. Today's topic is a very interesting one, and I think it's one that many people should, pay attention to and learn more about it. And so if you're watching us out there, you can get to also invite your friends, send them the link, have them join us and watch what we have to share with you today. And so, Dr. Dolly, when we talk about processed food, we're talking about food, simply put, food that have been changed in one way or the other during preparation. So that's the simple way to explain what processed foods are. And like that, the fact that you mentioned that there are different ways you can get to processed food. It could be by drying, it could be by canning, it could be by baking. It could, yes. So there are so many ways. And so all through this process, for some foods, they are minimally processed. Maybe, for example, let's look at frozen vegetables. If they are processed foods, right? And so you get to cut them, wash them, then cut them into smaller pieces and can, or even pack them in and freeze them. So these are processed food also, but then they are minimally processed, and so they still have most of their nutrient intact. And so we also have the ones that are highly processed, and those ones are the ones that we have, brings a lot of health concerns. And so you have a lot of this highly processed one having added sugar, we have having unhealthy fat, more fat, the refined flours coming in, and so they're also very high in calories. And all these are things that can cause health issues. They can lead to obesity. They can lead to, people developing diabetes, and so even cardiovascular diseases. So this is some of and this is why it's been advised that you need to limit the highly processed. They're dangerous to your health. They're things you need to break down. And so simply this processed foods. Yes. So we all eat processed food one way or the other, but then doing the minimally, processed one are the ones that are, very, very good to the health.
Thank you so much for that. From what I can infer from what you just said, we have the healthy processed food and the unhealthy processed food. Because the cut vegetables that are frozen in the refrigerator, can we say it's unhealthy?
No, it's healthy. So when we talk about processed food, we have not all processed foods are bad. Not all processed foods are unhealthy. We have the ones that are healthy, and we also have the ones that are really unhealthy. And so when we look at the ones that are unhealthy, those are the ones that we have a lot of added sugar, a lot of unhealthy fats going into them. And so some of these are the ones that causes more health issues.
Okay. Mr. Tony, do you have any inputs on this?
Well, processed food, I think it would be examples of processed food. Are we talking about what are the examples of processed food that we have? Because I think some people might not understand what we mean by processed foods. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, do you have any examples of that?
Yes, we do. We're coming to that. Now, let's run through the examples of processed food we have. Like I said before, processed food are pre-prepared foods or convenient foods. They include ready-made meals that you can just get off of the shelf or counter and then eat it immediately. Another ones are the baked foods, baked goods. All these things that contain flour, they are the ones that are part of the processed food. You also have the processed meats, the kind of meats you get in the malls. They are there. And then the kind of food that contain artificial chemicals in them or enhancers, all of them are processed. Like you get the white rice is also processed because it has been added some whitening ingredients that will make it already better or pre-prepared for the final consumer to use. We have a whole lot, all the stuff like the pizzas, the hamburgers, all of them are processed, down to stuff we use for breakfast, like the margarines, the butters, and all of them. They are all highly processed food, and those are the foods that when you see them, they are red flags to the diseases that come down with this. If you overconsume them, you will come down with number one, obesity, because in the process of making the food or chemically processing this food, some added fats are added to it. You have also sodium, which is salt, added to these foods, and another added sugar in order to make it more palatable for the public to consume, thereby endangering the health of the final consumer because you might have taken loads and loads of food that contains sugar before you even say, let me go and buy a hamburger. You don't know the amount of sugar and salt added to sweeten it and enhance it for you. So when you overindulge in this kind of processed food, it poses great danger to the health.
So, Dr. Dolly and Flashali, thank you for obviously so far giving us the information on processed food and examples of processed food. But I assume the manufacturers don't deliberately want to harm us. I take it, yeah. So really, I think processed food is to do with a lifestyle. Am I right? To do with a lifestyle that we have. Because before our parents or our grandparents didn't have these processed foods. So where did it come about? Where did it come from? And what was the reason? Why do we have it now? Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Oh, thank you, Mr. Tony, for that question. I like it because it brings so many salient points to bear. Firstly, it wasn't like that in the past, and the manufacturers, kudos to them, didn't want to harm or cause any lifestyle diseases to their clients. But with the advent of commercialization and then industrialization and all the rest, there is so much competition at stake. Now, every brand wants to sell. Every brand wants to be the preferred one. And one of the reasons why consumers favor a particular brand is if it's very tasty. In order to drive that point home, they started adding sugars, started adding salt in order to sweeten the taste or get a better flavoring for their consumers. That's how it started. And now, over time, some manufacturers even go to the extent of hiding the amount of sugars that they added in it because some health pioneers have started raising the point that these foods contain way above the daily recommendation of these sugars and salt and fat. So they start hiding it in order to still make the food tasty and at the same time healthy.
Right. Okay. And Folashade, what do you say on that side on terms?
Yes, so I think one of the major reasons also is the fact that we are living in a fast-paced world right now. Everybody wants convenience. Convenience, you spend almost all your day at work, if not at work, in traffic. And so people look for things that are just easy to get. And so what these manufacturers have done is just to, help you solve the problem of no time, creating convenience for you. But then while creating the convenience, we're also creating another problem on the side, which is the side effect of consuming all this highly processed food. And so as much as the world is running fast, we need to ensure that we take a step back and then consume things that are healthy so that we don't, also run fast. So I agree. Yeah, so it's very important.
Well, we don't want to run fast, but Dr. Dolly, I mean, you mentioned obviously sugars, and we obviously this program is linked to diabetes awareness, and I suppose are you linking danger? Are you linking the dangers of processed food to diabetes, or are you linking to the fact that if you're diabetic, you need to avoid processed foods, or are you saying that processed food can cause diabetes? I'm just trying to understand where the link is.
Yes, the link is in, first of all, processed food can cause diabetes for someone who previously doesn't have it. Again, it can also worsen diabetes for someone who's already been diagnosed of that. So that is it. Now that takes me to saying that heavily processed food include unhealthy levels of added sugar again, salt and fat, and that they lack nutritional value and contains high amounts in calories. Now, these particular ingredients, namely the sugar, the salt, and trans fats, they make food taste better, but too much of them leads to serious health issues like one, one is obesity. Obesity because of the high calorie content of the sugars added to the food in order to make them come out better. Another one is heart diseases. If you eat these foods for over a long time, one of the dangers is heart diseases. Another one that cannot be overemphasized is hypertension. Last but not the least is the diabetes that you're asking me about. So these four lifestyle diseases are what can be the consequences of eating highly or ultra processed foods. So that's it. Now, there's a question I want to pose to the viewers. I want to ask them, do you think that processed food can kill you? Is it even a possibility that you can die from eating processed food? Now, the, there's a research that went on some years ago, and it was discovered that people who ate ultra processed foods had 62% increased risk of death. That's high by any anyhow you want to look at it, 62% is really staggering. Another one is if you compare them to people who don't eat ultra processed food, people who do eat it has 62% increased risk of death. Also, it increases the chances of death by 18%. So it has been directly linked to death. That's just it. That was what the research found out. So processed food is not when you test it intermittently, no. We are talking about when you make it a lifestyle. In the morning, you're having a whole lot of margarines with white bread,
Right.
with so many things that are unhealthy. Then you get something like jam. Natural jam prepared at home is usually good. But if you get the jams that are off the shelf, there's so many things added. This processed food include also preservatives that preserve this food as long as you can have it, so that the manufacturers, they don't want to waste,
Run at a loss.
run at a loss. That's it. So all those things poses dangers to health. All the sweeteners, they will tell you, okay, there's no sugar in this, but they are sweeteners. Those sweeteners as well are not good for the health. All of that, it is very, 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 very detrimental to the health. That's why along in here, we also compiled a little bit of benefits of real food so that people can know that this is what I stand to gain if I eat real food, and this is the risk I run by getting the ready-made, easy to get processed foods in the market today.
Okay. So, I mean, just to quickly understand, there are, we here talk about type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So is this referring to type 1 or is it referring to type 2 diabetes?
We are referring basically to type 2.
Right, okay.
Because type 1 is something that you had to be born with. There
Right.
has to be something wrong with you genetically for you to be diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. But type 2 is diagnosis made on someone who was born healthy. Then, due to your lifestyle, over time, it develops in the person. So basically, the focus here is on type 2 diabetes.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So we turn over to our dietitian once again. Run us through this processed food. Give us examples and the dangers in which it poses to us, because I'm coming at it from the medical point of view. I'm I'm zoning in on the four diseases I mentioned: the diabetes, the hypertension, heart diseases, and obesity. Now, walk us through.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dolly. So you'll find out that in this processed food, the highly processed food, I think we should emphasize on the highly processed food. Like I mentioned earlier, we have minimally processed foods that are still healthy. Not all processed foods are unhealthy. The ones that are minimally processed, you have your frozen vegetables, you have your maize that has been milled into powder, you still have everything intact. Those ones are healthy. But when we talk about the highly processed food, those are the ones that we have so much sugar. And so talking about sugar, I also want to, help our viewers understand that added sugars have different names. So when you buy a food product and you check on the nutrition label, you can see sugar there, you can see high fructose syrup, you can see agave syrup, you can see so many different types, honey, and the names are just there. You see maltose syrup, all these are all sugars. So you need to pay attention to that. So don't only look for sugar, sugar.
Okay.
Look for this other name. There's several other names that sugar bears on those packs. So you need to pay attention. And then we also have, I like the fact that you mentioned sodium, because one of the major minerals when it comes to high blood pressure is the sodium. And so in many of those highly processed foods, you have the sodium, you have some of them, they even use this monosodium glutamate that is linked.
My question,
Yes.
I just want the viewers to know that sodium is another name for salt.
Yeah, yes. Well, sodium is another name that people use for salt. but it's very important that they understand that it's a component of salt. And so while everyone will just say sodium is, we have other products that also don't contain salt, but contains sodium. Do you understand? So that's why sodium is a major key factor. Yes. So you have other. Once I remember the examples I would share, but they are not salt, but then they contain sodium. So we need to pay attention that any product, and that's why it's very, very essential that you check the nutrition label once you see sodium. So most times on the nutrition label, you don't see the salt. What you see is sodium, because there are other things that contains sodium that do not contain salt as a component. So it's very important that we pay attention to that. And so high blood pressure is a silent killer. And so one way to silence the silent killer is to ensure that we reduce the salt that we consume. And many of those highly processed food contain a lot of salt, because salt itself is a form of preservative. So you have processed meat where people preserve their meat, adding so much salt into it. Sugar also is a form of preservative. And so people who don't even use the chemical preservative end up using some of these items. And so they come in large quantity, and you don't want to consume so many of that. We also have the added, fat. And so when we talk of the added fat, a lot of times when you look at baked products, you're looking at your meat pie, you're looking at some of even your pizza, you're looking at the hamburgers and all these, they hot dogs and all that. They contain, so much saturated fat. And so you're talking about the margarine, shortening, and butter, all this. And research has shown that saturated fat is one of the key, the fats that increases your risk of developing high blood pressure, of developing heart diseases. And so you want to be careful. Also, we have the trans fats, and the trans fat is even one that we shouldn't joke with at all. And so this, you find it a lot in fried foods, in foods that that contain so much unhealthy oil. And trans fat has also been linked to cause serious health diseases, and heart disease is the number one. And so no wonder that in the world today, cardiovascular disease happens to be the number one killer in the world today. So it's very important. And when you look at all this, you have the choice. You can control your intake of some of these items. You can choose to go for the minimally processed food item. You can choose to prepare your meals with less of all this item. And that takes us to, the benefit of, preparing your meals by yourself, or going for options that are not so highly processed, so that you can get to improve your health and prevent the risk of developing some of these diseases. And so, that's the problem with highly processed food. It's very, very serious. We need to take it serious.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Okay, we are going off our London studio. Mr. Tony, can we have a penny for yourself?
Hi, Folashade. Yeah, thank you very
Mr.
much
Tony.
for that input. Thank you. Just wanted to know, we talk about salt, and we talk about different types of salts. I've heard of sea salt before. Is there any differentiation between? Is there any benefit of me saying sea salt as opposed to a normal salt? Is there anything at all on that?
Okay. And so, Mr. Tony, when it comes to sea salt, yes, we have a lot of people, saying that sea salt is healthier than the normal salt that we use. And so research has shown that sea salt truly contains more, minerals than the usual salt. However, in the quantity that we consume, the amount of minerals in the salt that you consume is trace. But in large quantity, of course, comparing the normal salt and the sea salt has more nutrients, and it also enhances the flavor of your meals better than the usual salt. But then, because we want to be on the table salt, thank you. But because you want to be careful, they both contain sodium, and so you don't want to say because one contains more minerals, you don't want to keep taking more than what your health needs, because they both contain sodium, and sodium is the key, the culprit when it comes to high blood pressure, and nobody wants that. Yes. So it's best, even if you're doing the sea salt, it has to be a moderate amount, and you're not doing it overboard.
Okay, so now I hear this thing about overboard, too much, enough, and so on. Now, what is enough? I mean, how do we identify what is enough? I mean, what you're saying to us really, in a nutshell, is like, yes, all these things, sugar, salt, highly processed foods are dangerous for us for lifestyle diseases, such as one of the biggest one is the diabetes one, which is what we're on Diabetes Awareness Month. But what people want to know, what quantity? How do we know? What do we take daily? Is there a different measure for different people? And secondly, you're not asking us not to take salt. Yeah, you're not asking us not to take sugar. So, if we don't take sugar and don't take salt, we probably won't exist. I take it. But please let us know the quantity so that we can help those people that are having diabetes and having lifestyle diseases like you mentioned before.
Okay, thank you. And so when it comes to sugar, what is recommended, is that for men, you take about 36 grams of added sugar per day. And so 36 grams is about 6 teaspoons of sugar, 6 teaspoons of sugar. And so that's but the lesser the healthier for you. But even if you have to do sugar, you shouldn't go, above 36 grams per day. That's that's about 9 teaspoons, yes, of sugar per day. And so that's for men. For women, what is recommended is 25 grams of sugar. That's about 6 teaspoons of sugar.
So I think we've lost the studio. As you can hear, 8 teaspoons of sugar a day for men. And I think Folashade was going to say 6 teaspoons of sugar for women. I don't know why. They say men and women are equal, but why are we not having to take different types? But hopefully they will come back soon. But while they're off, what I'd like to just say to you is this program is sponsored by Salad Master, the Excel region Salad Master, and also what I was also say is we've got a special offer on Black Friday, which is coming up tomorrow. So those of you that are interested in any of our products in Salad Master, the people that sponsor the program, please let us know. Please look out for our special offers or call your dealer and find out what your special offers are. Are we back in the studio? Are we live back in the studio?
Yes, we are.
Wow. So we heard, I was just explaining to the audience, Folashade, that you mentioned 8 teaspoons of sugar average for the men. Am I right?
9 teaspoons. 9 teaspoons.
9 teaspoons. Sorry, I see. I'm glad you came online because I was telling them false information.
9 teaspoons. 9.
Yeah, 9. And then you said 6 teaspoons on average for women.
For women, 6.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. And then also, I was just saying it's strange where they say men and women are equal, but then at the same time we only have 6 teaspoons for women and 9 teaspoons. Why is this? Why? What's going on?
Well, that's the recommendation by the World Health Organization and also by the American Arts Organization. And so, based on the research that have been carried out, this is what has been confirmed to be the best for each of this group of people. And even for children between age 2 and 18, they should do less than 25 grams, while kids below 2 shouldn't even do sugar, no added sugar at all, no added sugar for those kids at all. And so that's it. And so it's, Mr. Tony, what the problem is really is that many times we do more than what our body needs. I just told you the recommendation now, and then what if I told you that 1 bottle of the fizzy drink, the common fizzy drink we consume.
Oh, sorry, looks like we're having network challenges in the Lagos studio. She's just about to say, now what we're going to do is, like I said, we'll just go on a short break, just so that you can see some of the things that are going to be on offer over this Black Friday. So I'm going to just play one of the videos so that you can see it while we're getting back connected with the studio. Yep, so there you go. Okay, it looks like we are back here. We have them back in the studio, so I'm just going to bring them back up. So I hope we got you back. Sorry, it looks like we have a network connections. Yeah. So are you back?
Yes, we're back.
Okay. So where are we now? I think you were talking about one bottle of fizzy drink.
Fizzy drinks, yes. So one bottle of fizzy drink contains about 54 grams of sugar. And so that's double of what women should even take in a day, and more than what men should even consume in a day. And we have people who drink 1, 2, 3 bottles per day. And then we have not even calculated the sugar, the amount of sugar in the cookies they are taking with the fizzy drink, or in the pastries they are eating, with this, combining with this drink. And so the problem is that it's not like we shouldn't do sugar, but then we do it in excess, and then the excess is what affects our health. And so when we talk about salt also, what is recommended is that adults should take 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. And what that means is that 1 teaspoon of salt is what we should, take in a day. And if you can do less, it's even better for you. And that's for healthy adults. If you have, high blood pressure already, you even need to go way down, than that. So the problem is that we overdo, and then in overdoing it, it leads to all those problems that we're talking about. Yes.
Well, Dr. Dolly,
Yeah.
what I'd like to ask you is what Folashade just mentioned in regards to sugar and salt. I mean, how do we really measure salt and sugar in a daily? Because it's seen look, we eat things and we don't even know how much sugar is in there and salt.
Exactly.
So what is it? What does the doctor say on this?
You took that question right out of my heart. It was, I wanted to address it, and thank God you brought it up. Now, before I go into the question, I like to add more to what Folashade answered about the difference in the intake of sugar in men and women. Men are expected to consume more because of their one, they have bigger body frame, and secondly, they have more physical tasking job than the women.
Yeah.
So they are expected to burn more calories than the females. Now, getting to the measurements of sugar, salt, and fats. That is why this program came to be. Because if you make it a lifestyle or a habit of eating processed food, there is no way you can be able to measure the amount of sugar, salt that you consume. Because, okay, fine. If we say every food you buy, go and check the label. What label does hamburger contain? Do they label pizza? They don't. What labeling do they have on fizzy drinks? None. So majority of those processed food escape without having labels on them. So how do you protect yourself? How do you protect your health? First thing that is recommended is go lean towards the minimally processed foods. Example, cooked food in your house. When I am cooking a meal in the house, I know the amount of salt I added. And when I eat that food all through the day, I can authoritatively say that this is the amount of sugar that I consumed or salt that I consumed today. But if in the process of cooking, after I finish cooking in my house, I go out with friends some hours later, I have a box of pizza and some soft drinks. Later on, we go on and I have another pint of ice cream. And then along the way, I go on to maybe go see a movie in the night and I get a free box of popcorns. Popcorns come with so much sugar, like we know. And at the end of the day, you might be coming down with so many grams of sugar unaccounted for you've consumed. And tomorrow, how can you say this is the amount of sugar I've consumed? It's practically impossible. So the first step to calculating for the sugars, salts, and the fats that we consume is prefer or lean towards homemade meals. That way, everything you consume is accounted for because you are the one putting it. And that way, you can even add more fruits and vegetables in your food, which you cannot get if you are always about ready-made meals outside of the house. And some of those foods are not just processed, but are highly or ultra processed. So that's the problem. Or even if they are not processed, they can be prepared with some of the cooking oils that are already processed. And then you come with those kind of oils, you fry those foods in them. So you can just imagine that it will be a harvest of unprocessed foods going into you. So if you want to really account for the amount of food, not just for this fats and salt and everything that you put in, and above all, the hygiene of what you take in, we advise our viewers to do more homemade meals. You can take it to your office, you can take it anywhere, it is better. And when you snack on fruits. That is the only way we can accurately measure the amount of salt, sugar, and fats that we consume every day.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So what you're saying is taking it back to home cooking. Yeah. And really that's true because we don't know what is in the food that we buy on the shelf. We don't really know what's in there. And I think someone mentioned that also that the labeling is not quite right in some of the foods that we have. Uh,
That's right.
and I think for someone that's diabetic, obviously it's more of a problem because they have to look at what they're eating. And I think as a doctor, you would make recommendation, and a nutritionist and a dietitian, you would make recommendation to someone that's diabetic and maybe might be on insulin. What recommendation would you make to them? What is the recommendation if somebody's diabetic right now, watching this program right now, and you were I know that not one hat fits all, but you were going to make a general recommendation. What is the recommendation you would make for them in terms of the food they eat, the sugars, the salts? What is the recommendation you'd make? Dr. Dolly first.
Okay. First of all, if I have a diabetic patient in front of me right now, what I would say is first, lean towards natural foods. Do more vegetables, more fruits. That is good for you. And secondly, eliminate completely all ultra processed foods. Every food made with baked flour, all the baked food, eliminate. Then, in coming to, well, the person cannot, like you rightly pointed out, you can't tell someone to not take sugar, salt. The person is better off dead. So, what's my third recommendation is make your own food. Make it. And in eliminating baked foods for diabetic patients, one thing, there's a way in which some of them who love baked food so much, we have what we call a wheat flour. We have even coconut flour. We have flours made of so many other things other than the white flour from the market that they can make at home, and then they are sure of what they are getting. But you cannot be sure of what you get outside because they can tell you, oh yeah, in order for you to buy, I made this with this kind of flour, but that isn't the case. So the best thing I would recommend for a diabetic patient is after you are diagnosed of these kind of elements, please do get a cook if you can't cook yourself. Homemade meals are the hallmark of managing your sugar level at home excellently.
Great, great. And follow Shade as a dietitian, because I'm sure, like a lot of someone that's diabetic would probably need a doctor to recommend a dietitian. Am I right, Dr. Dolly?
That's right.
And where the dietitian takes over is the food side, isn't it? So, as a dietitian, what would you do as a dietitian if someone was diabetic? And what is there something like a meal plan, or what is it that you do or
Yeah.
recommend?
All right. So for someone who is diabetic already, it's very important that you even help that person understand what the complications can be. For someone with diabetes, high blood pressure can set in and then can lead to a disease, can also lead to even kidney problems. And so this is why such person needs to understand that you don't have any, the best choice or the best decision you can make is to ensure that you go, the healthy way by reducing the highly processed foods that you consume. And also in when it comes to diabetes, the major nutrient of concern is your carbohydrate. And so going for the healthy carbohydrates is the best for you. So these sugars that we're talking about are also types of carbohydrate, but then they have little or no nutritional value. The white sugar, the highly refined flour, they have little or no nutritional value that they offer to you. And so it's best that you go for carbohydrate that would offer you more value. You're talking about your fruits and vegetables, like Dr. Dolly mentioned. You're talking about, some of the starchy carb. You're talking about your rice, because in this food, the rice, the wheat, the yam, all this food that we eat contains natural sugars. And so the sugars of concern are the ones that we add, the ones that are the artificial sugar. So you already have sugars in, your food already. The starch in them also break down at the end of the day into sugar. And so you may, it's best that as a diabetic patient, you focus on this healthy, food while paying attention to the portion size. We don't say because, the yam is better than the highly processed food, or the rice, the brown rice, or the beans. All this contains, natural sugars in them. But then you don't want to overdo. You want to ensure that the portioning, is right. And so that's where the meal plan comes in, where you need to see a dietitian who considers your age, your physical activity, your what state your diabetes is. Do you have other complications? Are you high blood pressure? Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have obesity, or all these complications that occur with diabetes? And so based on all this assessment, then the dietitian can get to create a meal plan that fits you and then meets your nutritional need, helping to prevent the side effect or the complications that may occur because you're a diabetic patient. So it's very, very important that you work with it. Having a meal plan would even save you from having to go buy meals outside, because with a meal plan you get to plan your meals ahead. What's for lunch, what's for dinner, what's even on the next day list, and then you can even get to prepare your meals and even save or store some of them in your freezer, which even makes it easier for you to eat. And
Great.
So it makes life easier for you that way too.
Great. So Folashade, from what I hear from what you're saying, is like a dietitian doesn't work in isolation. A dietitian doesn't work in isolation.
No.
A
No, we
dietitian
don't.
works with the doctor,
Yes,
to find out what the condition of the patient is first. So I could not come into you and say I'm diabetic without giving you my record, without giving you an account of my medical record, and then
Yes.
you're going to now make a recommendation of what I should eat. That would I say that? Would I be right in saying that would be wrong? That would be wrong in doing. You would need to find out what other factors are involved in this thing. Am I right?
Yes.
On that side?
Yes. Yes. Yes, I would need to find out what other factors are involved. So
Yeah.
for example, the easiest example I can use is if you are diabetic, I even need to have an idea of what your blood sugar levels are, and then your doctor would have asked you to do some of these tests. And so the lab result you bring is what I would be able to see and see how you've been able to monitor or regulate your blood sugar level. And even the medications that the doctors have prescribed, I need to also consider that even in making your meal plans for you. So I can't just say this is a meal plan and go use it like some people do, asking for the general diabetic meal plan. It has to be based on who or you are, what your condition is, and the medications that you are placed on. Yes.
So this is one of the reasons, and this is Dr. Doyle, I'm going to bring you in here in a minute. Yeah, well, this is one of the reasons why we have this show, because we have the medical side, we have the doctor side, and we have the dietitian sides, and the two have to be speaking, and the two work together to get the right solution for the patient. Yeah. So Dr. Doyle, do you want to say a few words on that?
Yes, I wanted to add a few things to what she said. I completely agree to what she said. But then there's another aspect of managing a diabetic patient that is very important, especially type 2. What happens is that in the management of type 2 diabetic patients, we can handle it in three ways. One, we can manage it just by lifestyle modification, depending on how severe the diabetic stage you catch the patient in. Another one, you can add exercise to it. And then the third but not the least is you can add medications to that. Now, it is only a doctor that determines which way, what these three pathways, which way the patient is going to follow, depending on what the patient presents in and at the level or the stage of diabetic the patient has been was met by the doctor. So now a doctor can also just place a patient, just say, go to your dietitian. Your diabetes is just at the mild stage. We'll just manage you with exercise and food modification. That does it. And it also, a doctor can say, no, in addition to these two things, I'm adding a medication. And not only can a doctor add the medication, he now says in what dose also, depending whether the diabetes have started manifesting some of the complications she talked about. So the complication of diabetes is from head to toe. It can affect the eyes, it can affect your heart, your kidneys, your nerves, blood vessels, and everything. So that is what the doctor looks out for. It is only a qualified doctor that will now know that, okay, the eyes are going to be affected if you don't do this, you don't do this. Now, go to the dietitian, get your meal right. While we're doing that, we now work on lowering the blood sugar that's already elevated. Now, when you lower the elevated blood sugar level, that the meal plan can now start having effect on the patient. But without lowering it, it cannot have. So, in management of diabetes, actually, it is a multifactorial management, not just the doctor and the dietitian, but other aspects like the nurses also have a part to play. And then in medicine, different departments of medicine also needs to come into play, like ophthalmology that will take care of their eyes, and the doctors that take care of their nerves, the nephrologists that take care of the kidney, the doctors that take care of the heart. So it's a multifactorial management that a diabetic patient involves. So today, as we are coming to conclusion of today's wonderful episode, we want especially everyone to take note of what we say. Link towards homemade meals so that you can be able to account for every amount of sugar, salt, and trans fats that you allow into your system. Thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Lee and Floshadi, thank you very much. We're just going to go on a short break, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to summarize what we've said. So we're just going on a short break right now. So we're going to come back in a minute. Yeah. So guys, look out for look out for us very soon. We'll be back in a minute or two. Hello, 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 and welcome back from the advert. You saw that Salad Master machine there. Wow, that Salad Master machine is an amazing piece of equipment. And guess what? You can have that for Christmas. You can have that for Christmas. All you've got to do is first you've got to see a presentation yourself. Second, you've got to recommend us on to a number of people to see the presentation, and that piece of equipment is could be yours for Christmas. And guess what? We've got Black Friday tomorrow. And I'd like to say thank you very much for Salad Master, our sponsors that allow us to be able to show the show out every 2 weeks with Dr. Dolly and Fola Shade as a dietitian. And guess what? Guess what? We've got Black Friday tomorrow. And we've got also on Saturday, we've got the show coming up on Saturday. It's going to be amazing 3 days. We also have in our office in VI, we are doing tests. So if you want to get tested, if you want a health check, come to our office in VI. We have a number of health coaches there that will help you get yourself tested, and you can get some results straight away. And also have some exercise and have some good food. One thing I'll say, Dr. Dolly, you saw that salad. Would you recommend vegetables and salads to someone that's diabetic?
For my diabetic patients, the Salad Master machine should be my first recommendation. Yes, because they
Right,
need a
fantastic.
whole lot, they need to consume a whole lot of vegetables. Yeah.
Great. And Fola Shade, you saw all the vegetables going in there. What would you say about that? What would you say about that? Okay.
Vegetables are one of the best food for diabetic patients, and so that is one of the best meals they can they can have. It's low in calorie and it offers so much nutrient, minerals, and vitamins that can help boost their health. And so, with the salad master machine, it makes it easier for them to even prepare this salad, and they get to have it no fat added. And I also want to use this opportunity to say that many times people make salad and then add extras like they're adding sausage, they're adding cream, which makes it, in a way also unhealthy.
Right.
Yes, so it's best that you do. I love the fact that it's the lime, the lemon that is being, shredded and added to the salad, which also helps improve the health. So going for healthier toppings or dressing, salad dressing also makes salad more healthy for the consumer. So for the diabetic patient out there and everyone who wants to get to regulate their blood sugar level, salad is one of the best meals you can eat. And having Salad Master machine right in your kitchen make life easy and easier for you.
So again, thank you very much for that, Felicia. Thank you very much. We're going to go over to Dr. Dolly in 1 second. I'd like to again thank our sponsors, Salad Master, and thank you for showing us Your Billion Dollar Body by Dr. Dolly. Yeah. And then we are in Excel region in the Victoria Island office. And guess what? On Saturday, you can come down and that salad you saw on that commercial, you can have it all day. You can come and have that salad all day. Plus, we're doing some healthy cooking that day, live healthy cooking. So please, if you're interested, please put a message on the chat and we'll send you the information. So Dr. Dolly, you wanted to say a few words?
Yes. For our viewers, I'll leave them with this. There's no need for anybody to experience the physical discomforts, mental torture, psychological anguish, or even loss of resources and time invested in the management of lifestyle diseases. Now, in order to eat right, manage then you manage what you can be prevented. There's no need to manage what you can prevent. In other words, please lean towards the minimally type of processing in your food so that you don't come down with all these lifestyle diseases we mentioned at the beginning of this show, which I can also run through now. The lifestyle diseases are diabetes, obesity, heart diseases, and hypertension. You can avoid the anguish that is associated with these diseases by just eating right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dolly. And Fola Shade?
All right, so I would leave the viewers with these few words. If you have your favorite car, you will do everything to maintain and ensure that the car is in a very good state. If you want to buy a dress, you would ensure that everything fits in, and then it's going into, you're able to wear those clothes, and then it fits your body. And so everything that goes into your billion-dollar body also matters. If you can do all that for your car, you can do that for the clothes you wear on that, body. What goes into it also matters. And one of the things you can do to ensure that you maintain your billion-dollar body is to eat healthy meals. And one of the ways to eat healthy meals is to ensure that you go for minimal processed food and avoid as much as possible. And if you can, limit as much as you can the intake of highly processed food. That way you're able to maintain your body and even boost your immune system and ensure that everything in your body works perfectly right, and then you can get to flaunt your billion-dollar body everywhere you go.
Wow. I just love that, your billion-dollar body. I tell you one thing. My body is worth more than $1 billion. I'll tell you that already.
Yes.
Yeah, but then the thing is, like you probably say, you have to treat it like it's worth more than $1 billion body, and we are what we eat. As they say, there's an expression that they say, you are what you eat. And Salad Master do free health and nutrition presentations for anybody that sees this show. So if you want to see a free health and nutrition presentation, please put on the chat and talk to the person that invited you, because we will make sure you get a free health and nutrition show during this Diabetes Awareness Month. Yeah, remember the month finishes on Monday, so we're going to make sure we do as much as we can in the next few days to make sure we service you. When Salad Master, we say we change lives. Yeah, and in your billion-dollar body, Dr. Dolly is there getting information for you, giving information to you so that you can help. And also Folashade is now also giving you dietitian information so that you can also look at your food you eat. Everything is all about what you eat. And also, one thing I always say, I think someone said it, I think it might have been Folashade, Dr. Dolly said it, but life is not about illness. It's about wellness. Yeah. Let me just repeat myself. Life is not about illness. It's about wellness. Dr. Dolly mentioned the fact that why are you managing your diabetes? Yeah. Why are you managing it? Yeah, don't manage it. Do something about it. Yeah, and by doing something about it, you can become well. And then by being well, you can live the life you deserve. Yeah, so stop living the life in pain. Yeah, it's not how long you live, it's how well you live. Yeah, that is quality of life. So I'd like to say thank you very much to the Nigerian studio. We had some networking issues, but we're back. We're okay. Thank you very much. And I know tomorrow, there's some more nuggets, some more big bombs that are going to be here. And I think some of them are going to be tilting towards. Someone says, if I have diabetes, can I get better? Can I get well? Can I come off my insulin? Yeah. Can I come off my pills? How can I do that? Is there a possibility? Is there a way forward? So Dr. Dolly and Folashade will be dealing with some of those subjects tomorrow. And do you want to say anything else you want to deal with before we wrap up, Dr. Dolly and Folashade?
Oh yeah, I want to tell them that every time you open your mouth to eat, you are either fighting a disease or feeding it. So choose wisely.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about tomorrow we're going to talk about how we can eat and fight disease. Yeah, how we can eat and fight diabetes. Yeah, and therefore, in some cases, we've seen great information in the UK. In the UK, as I am in the UK right now, the NHS, which is the body for the hospitals, the doctors, and so on, they have now done a slight U-turn, and now they're recognizing the importance of alternative food, whereby now food, in terms of helping cure some of these lifestyle diseases, or helping reverse some of these lifestyle diseases. So the government is now putting millions into diet programs, And guess what? They're spending millions because they believe that if they can spend the millions, they can take the pressure off the doctors. the doctors can do the work that they need to do rather than doing work that they don't need to do. Yeah. And because there's enough work that they need to do. Yeah. And we are overloading the system. So now they're spending millions in the UK and in the US on diet programs so that they can do prevention rather than curing. So that if you have it, you can see how you can reverse that. So Dr. Dolly and Brother Shadi, thank you very much. I hope you shed some light on those things. The viewers are happy with what you've said today, and I am happy. And I'd like to also thank Your $1 Billion Body by Dr. Dolly. I'd like to thank Salad Master, our sponsors, and also I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 6:30. Am I right? 6:30 tomorrow evening at 6:30.
Yeah, that's right.
And that, thank you. Over and out. Bye, Nigeria. Bye, Nigeria.
Bye.
All right. So we could. Bye. 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 Remember, Black Friday tomorrow. Black Friday tomorrow.
You dey walk oh, you dey pray, you dey push oh, every day. You dey try oh, no be play, but your hustle never pay. And you think say God you no dey for your side, and you want to find another way to prosper. You think say God you no just get your time.